You've got this group, right? On one hand, they were the most elite fighting force of the Crusades, these legendary holy warriors. On the other, they were Europe's first multinational bankers, building a financial empire that made kings jealous. And then, in the end, they were branded as heretics, accused of worshiping the devil, and burned at the stake. This is the incredible story of the Knights Templar, a story just packed with contradictions, secrets, and a legacy that, well, it just refuses to die.
So the story of their downfall kicks off on a day that would go down in history, and not in a good way. We're talking about Friday, October 13th, 1307. Before the sun even came up, a secret order, signed and sealed by the King of France himself, was put into motion with absolute brutal efficiency. All across the kingdom, a massive, coordinated military operation was unfolding in the dark. Thousands of Templars, everyone from the Grand Master all the way down to the newest recruits, were dragged from their beds and arrested. And the charges against them, they were absolutely shocking. The king's men claimed these famous holy warriors were secretly denying Christ, spitting on the cross in their initiation rites, engaging in homosexuality, and this is the weirdest one, worshipping some kind of mysterious severed head they called Baphomet. So you have to ask yourself, how? How did this order, praised by popes and saints, the absolute symbol of Christian knighthood, fall so hard, so fast? To get to the bottom of this shocking takedown, we've got to rewind the clock, way back to the beginning. Let's trace their journey, because they didn't start out as a superpower. They started out as something much, much humbler. Okay, so their full name is a bit of a mouthful: the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. The whole thing was started around 1119 by just 9 French knights, and their mission, at least on paper, was pretty simple: protect Christian pilgrims who were traveling on the really dangerous roads to Jerusalem. They were given a headquarters right on the site of King Solomon's ancient temple, and that, right there, is how they got their famous name, the Templars. But their official seal tells you everything you need to know about the contradiction at the heart of this order. It shows 2 knights riding a single horse, which was meant to be a symbol of their vow of poverty. But in reality, the Templars became unbelievably wealthy. They basically invented international banking. Pilgrims could deposit cash in London or Paris and then withdraw it safely in the Holy Land. This made them the bankers of Europe, lending enormous amounts of money to kings and even the Pope himself. Now, the guy who really launched them into the big leagues was Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. He was the most powerful churchman of his day. He wrote their rulebook and came up with this game-changing idea. He basically invented military Christianity. He argued that killing for Christ wasn't a sin at all. In fact, it was a shortcut to salvation. Suddenly, the Templars weren't just soldiers anymore. They were a holy weapon, doing God's work. But their power wasn't just about money or military might. Rumors started to swirl that the Templars had found something else: secret, sacred knowledge, the kind of knowledge that could shake the very foundations of the church. Get this. For the first 9 years they existed, the Templars didn't accept any new members. It was just those original 9 guys. So what were they doing for all that time? Well, a very popular theory suggests their real mission wasn't protecting pilgrims at all. It was excavating deep beneath the Temple Mount, searching for lost holy relics, maybe ancient manuscripts, maybe treasure, or maybe, just maybe, the legendary Ark of the Covenant itself. And whatever they might have found down there, it could have sparked a revolution. Because soon after they were founded, a brand new style of building just explodes across Europe: Gothic architecture. The incredible soaring arches, the complex designs of the great cathedrals, it was a quantum leap in engineering. Many believe the Templars, using some kind of sacred geometry they uncovered in Jerusalem, were the secret master builders behind it all. Even their own patron, St. Bernard, talked about God in geometric terms. And all of this leads us to the darkest, most infamous accusation of them all: that in their secret chambers, they worshipped an idol, a mysterious head they called Baphomet. So, what on earth was it? Well, when you start torturing people, you tend to get pretty wild answers. Under the agony of the Inquisition, the knights gave completely different descriptions. Some said it was a terrifying head with a long beard, others said it was a figure with 2 faces, some even said it was just a cat or a painted skull. The fact that the stories were all over the place strongly suggests these were forced confessions, with knights just saying whatever their torturers wanted to hear. But what if Baphomet wasn't a demon at all? What if it was a code? One modern scholar came up with a fascinating theory using something called the Atbash cipher. This was an old Hebrew code that was used in the Middle East.
It's simple, really. You just swap the first letter of the alphabet for the last, the second for the second to last, and you just keep going like that.
So when this scholar took the Hebrew letters for Baphomet and applied that cipher, what popped out was the Greek word Sophia, and Sophia means wisdom. So is it possible the Templars weren't worshiping a demon idol at all, but were secretly honoring the concept of divine wisdom? That would have been a huge heresy to the mainstream church back then.
But whether it was a demon or a code word, it didn't matter. The accusations stuck. And the man who made sure they did was the most powerful king in Europe. Let me introduce you to King Philip the Fair of France. Now, this guy had two huge motivations for wanting the Templars gone. First, he owed them a fortune. He was massively in debt to the order, and if he could get rid of them, he could seize all their wealth and solve his money problems in one go. And second, Philip was intensely, almost scarily religious. He probably believed the rumors and saw himself as God's chosen king, cleansing his land of heretics. And he played his cards perfectly. In 1305, he managed to get a Frenchman elected pope, Clement V, who basically became his puppet. Then came that infamous mass arrest in 1307. For the next 5 years, it was just horrific torture to get those confessions. Finally, with the king's army surrounding the church council meeting, a very nervous Pope Clement officially dissolved the entire order in 1312. It was a total takedown.
But did he really destroy them? Or did an organization with that much money, that much power, and that many secrets just disappear into the shadows?
Well, the Templar legacy seems to have scattered and transformed. In Portugal, they were found innocent of all charges and just changed their name to the Knights of Christ. It was their money and knowledge that fueled the Age of Discovery. That famous red cross on the sails of Christopher Columbus's ships, that was the Templar cross. In Scotland, they never even got shut down. Templar Knights supposedly fought for Robert the Bruce, and their secret traditions were kept alive. And many believe that out of this Scottish branch, the Freemasons eventually emerged, carrying on the Templar symbols and their mission to build a new kind of temple.
And the treasure? What about their legendary treasure? Here's the kicker. On the night right before the mass arrests, the entire Templar fleet, 18 ships loaded with all their gold and artifacts, quietly sailed out of their main port at La Rochelle and simply vanished into the Atlantic. What was on those ships and where they went is still one of the greatest mysteries in history. So we're left with this one last incredible question. Were the Knights Templar really wiped off the map by a greedy king? Or was their destruction the greatest disappearing act in history? Did they simply change their name, go underground, and continue their secret work, hiding in plain sight, even to this day?